It's day 15 of my 30-day album challenge, and today we're slowing things down, way down. I'm diving into one of the smoothest, coolest, and most influential records ever made, Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. If you've never heard jazz like this before, you're in for a masterclass in mood. Let's get into it. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys and say I'm the biggest jazz fan. I really just listen to jazz for the vibe it gives me, for the imagination it creates in my head, rather than like listening for the major chords, the minor chords. But I'll be here lying to you guys if I didn't understand the history and the cultural impact that Kinda Blue had on the world. It is still the best-selling jazz album of all time, and it probably will never be taken from like that title. But at the same time, jazz is something that you have to understand to really get the nuances of the whole album. But Kinda Blue is one of those few exceptions for jazz albums that when you listen to, you understand that this is something great and it's not just artists and musicians showing you something different. This is an artist, a creative, a collection of great artists coming together to really try to change the game of jazz at the time, and it still has impacted the world to this day. Kinda Blue is one of the key points in history where I like to point to and say something changed that day because it sounds completely different from anything before it and anything after it too. Kinda Blue makes me feel like blues music does. It makes me feel sad, it makes me feel sorrow, but it also makes me think of different settings for these types of emotions, like going through a dark alleyway by yourself or being in the middle of nowhere and just really reflecting on yourself, looking at the sky, looking at all the lights, looking at a view, and just really introspectively thinking about you, your situation, other people around you. And it's like really introspective. I think that's another name for the title I would have gave it for the album is introspective because all I can think about is myself when I listen to this album. And that sounds very narcissistic, but I think that's what his intention was. His intention was for people to stop being so impressed with all the scales and all the techniques that jazz musicians were doing before and actually making people feel something that the normal consumers can relate to. And I think this was the first jazz album, in my opinion, that had that feel, you know? You guys could let me know if I'm wrong in that case. Give me some example recommendations of jazz albums that do that. But Kinda Blue is one of a kind for me. I'm not gonna give it a rating out of 10 because I don't know how to rate jazz albums because I don't understand the nuances and all the other things that come to this album other than the feelings and emotions that it give me. So you guys can let me know what you guys think about this album and what you guys would give it a rating out of. But let me know what albums you guys want me to review next.